implying that I think that knowing is the enemy of belief. I think that when we know things, what we really are is in a trance where we've locked in the world in a certain way to save us calories, and it's going to be a lot harder for us to open that and consider new evidence. So what I'm getting at is I'd like to bring in a guest now, believe it or not, if he can hear me. Jim, if you can hear me, I am ready for you, my friend. Jim, if you can hear me, I'm ready for you, my friend. And what we are doing is that my good friend Jim Maiden, some of you guys know Jim Maiden. Some of you known Jim Maiden before I knew Jim Maiden. And that's because he is the co-host of the infamous RX Picture Show. And Jim and I have been staying in touch as much as possible. I wish more. But I'm glad he's here because he wants to give us a report. I would like for you to imagine that Jim is inside a chopper right now. Jim is inside Chopper 4 right now. It's just a very quiet chopper. And he's going to give us a report on the ground in Washington. Hello, Jim. Can you hear me? Are you able to hear me, Jim?
Yes, James. How's it going?
It's great. It's great. I heard that you decided that the ejection seats in the helicopter were a bad idea. I just want to say I'm really approve. I think that was good thinking. Well done.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's a mistake you don't want to make twice.
Yeah. One time's plenty. Definitely. So, Jim, you had an interesting event. You went down to visit CHAZ, correct? Would you like to tell us about it, please?
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to. So yeah, I went down there last night. I got in about maybe 7 o'clock, I think. And I think what I was struck by at first was the canvases, the graffiti canvases that were everywhere. It was like every downtown business had its storefront boarded up, and there was intricate and beautiful graffiti art everywhere on every storefront. As I was walking closer and closer to the CHAZ area.
Now, actually, before you got there, let's set this up because you were probably a little bit. Well, you were curious, and you had said that the local news. How was the local news painting this? Before you got down there, how was the local news painting this?
Well, I actually didn't see any local news. I went and looked on YouTube and checked out a Fox News report about it. Well, at first I looked. They had like a live feed, and it didn't look like much was going on. And then underneath of that was like a Fox News expose, like a sort of a fear tutorial about autonomous zones. So I watched that, and they pretty much were just focusing on sort of the mentally ill people, the people that were the people off to the side, I'm forgetting the word here. Yeah, on the Fox News, they were just showing some mentally ill people kind of shaking around, stains on their clothes, and they were talking about how people had guns and knives and cops weren't coming, and it just kind of sounded like it could have been a scary, dangerous place, like
Right.
your car would get its windows broken into if you left it there, and really, there was no telling what would happen.
Are you suggesting that maybe they might have been like pushing for some sort of national police force or something on Fox News?
They were. Yeah, I could see that.
Right on.
It kind of fit the narrative as it's just a terrible danger. What are people going to do?
Right.
And it just really wasn't like that when I got down there. It was. During the daytime, it really felt like a festival. There were people walking around, and people were selling stuff. There was all kinds of T-shirts and fundraising stuff, and lots of personal notes written everywhere about personal experiences, you know, and stuff like that. And it felt like really really safe and pretty mellow.
No fires.
No fires. You know, there was like you know, people walking around. There was a few people drinking beer and, you know, smoking pot, and kind of it kind of looked like all the marginal people went down there. All the homeless people, all the sort of mentally ill people, everybody in the Seattle area that didn't really have any other place to be went down there.
Right.
And so it wasn't, all these other people kind of probably soured the whole thing for the people that were really protesting.
Right. I noticed that I think it was your video. I'm going to pull this up so people can see. I'm talking about I've got your Facebook video you posted up now, and it says, "I'm here in CHAZ to find out in person how the autonomous hot dogs taste." Did you did you taste a hot dog, Jim?
Oh yeah, it was delicious. It was pretty much the way a regular Polish kielbasa tastes.
Well, I gotta ask. It looks like that there's all these giant concrete blockades have been set up that have been spray painted. Are those concrete?
Oh yeah,
yeah,
definitely. They're concrete blockades, and it does beg the question: who set that stuff up? Right?
Right. I mean, it's hard to believe that the homeless guys were like, "Hey, man, we should get some concrete blocks and make this a no drive zone."
Yeah, it was kind of odd. Like, I guess when I first kind of rolled into the CHAZ, or I guess it's CHOP now, the CHOP zone.
Right.
I was taking pictures of stuff and videotaping stuff, and there was a sort of a memorial from where the person had been shot a few nights previous.
Right.
And I started to videotape it, and there was a security guard there that said, "Please don't, no pictures. Family doesn't want pictures." And so we were talking to the security guard for a minute, and he was talking about how this guy was shot over here at this spot, you know, the night before, and nobody knew who shot him, or, you know, really nobody really had any answers of what happened. But you know, he was shot and killed, and the security guard told me that he was a security guard, the guy that got shot.
Right.
And it's just, I was just kind of wondering, you know, I didn't have the presence of mind to ask him at the time, but who was paying for the security guards for this thing? I mean,
wow. So here's your video of the police department, and it has definitely been turned into an effigy. It says Seattle People's Department, East Precinct, and oh, look at that! You've zoomed right in right when I needed you to. That's great. Seattle People Department, East Precinct. Wow, that's quite a change. So they boarded up everything, and they've kind of moved in on top of it. And of course, this is inside, and they got a big banner: trespassers, something property of the Seattle people. Okay. Yep. Trespassing is now. No, wait. This space is now property of the Seattle people. There we go. Okay. Yep. So it's basically like a festival, right? Like maybe day 4 of a festival. You know, where things are starting to get a little crispy, but everyone's still kind of hanging tight. Would you say that's a fair assessment?
Yeah, definitely. That's what it was like. It kind of seemed like most of the people that were sort of just tourists had gone home, and it was, I mean, there were a lot of people that were camped out there. There were a lot of tents. There was a lot of
Wait. Did you say there were a lot? Do you mean it was intense?
it was intense.
Wow.
Yes, it was very intense.
So
Um,
you were there for what, 3 or 4 hours, right? Did
yes.
did you leave at dark?
Um, yeah. Well, I think it was about, we were there for an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, and then we found the porta potties, and they were in the tent village. And I was kind of looking around, and people had set up raised garden beds and all kinds of stuff. Like already, it looked like people had moved in, you know, pretty much. And right at that moment, it was somebody with a megaphone was calling everyone to meet up for another. They were gonna have a march, so we ended up following them, and quite a few people got together and then marched all through town, you know, chanting, and they ended up. I think maybe there was about maybe 90 or 110 people that were very seriously protesting at this point. Not, I mean, they weren't like the people that were running around getting messed up or anything. They were pretty serious protesters. And the whole thing marched all the way down through Seattle and ended up at another police precinct where it didn't look like there was anybody home at the precinct. And it had all these steel sort of barricades, you know, like portable steel fence barricades in front of it. And all the protesters, everybody went up straight up to the stairs to the front door, and they sort of stopped there and had a meeting and talked about stuff and chanted. While that was going on, some other protesters were taking all those barricades and they were barricading off all the streets around the police station. And they were there for a while, and no police came out. I mean, we didn't even see any police cars. You know, the closest thing they had were they had some transit security guards that were kind of driving around and monitoring stuff. And really, what the protesters were trying to do last night, walking around, was they were trying to get the attention of the police and have sort of the police come out and, you know, I don't know, confrontation or just some sort of a reaction. And they ended up taking the group of protesters all the way down to the I-5 freeway, where they went and blocked the freeway, the northbound lane, for a while. And that was in the attempts of getting the police to come and meet up with them and talk to them. And the police didn't come. Apparently, they had been blocking off the freeway the last few nights in the hopes that it would, make some noise. And I guess everybody was pretty sad that it wasn't even being reported on the news or anything that what was going on.
Yep. It looks to me like what you're literally describing is a city-sponsored street festival with barricades, porta-johns, and pulling out of the police department. And they probably consider it. The last thing what you're describing is Black Bart has come to town at high noon, and he's walked up to the sheriff, and and he's outside the sheriff, and he's like, "You coming out, sheriff, or not?" And the sheriff's like, "No, we need more fires. We need more trouble. We need more of this." Any thoughts on that? Feel free to disagree if you do.
Oh, I think that's definitely true. I think that I think there's an agenda there. I think it's really the militarization of our security, is what it seems like.
Right.
Because, I mean, you defund the police, what are you going to do?
Right.
I mean, somebody gets hurt, I mean, you create a power vacuum, and then you're gonna end up having warlords pop in there, or military groups. I kind of talked to a couple people before that protest, before the walking around, and just to kind of get an idea of what it would be like at night there.
Yeah.
And the first guy that I talked to, he said that things change at night. That there's a lot of people that are drinking, and he said that a lot of people are running around, and he said the demons come out at night.
Wow.
And he said that it's like people are possessed, running around, and that it was kind of scary. He had like a sort of a warning about it, and I met him sort of right in front of the memorial for the person that had been shot a few nights before, and he was kind of giving this warning, and I was listening, and then a few minutes later I talked to another person, and she was telling me about the shooting the night before, and she said that it was really strange that there was like a battery of fireworks that went off, like across at the other end of the thing, and the shooting happened at the exact same time that these fireworks went off, and people heard the noise, of somebody got shot. They heard the noise of people reporting there was a shooting, and they heard the fireworks going off, and pretty much, she said most of the people in the tent village took off and just ran because they were afraid that there was a shooter somewhere trying to pick people off.
Yeah.
And this girl said that she hid out in her tent because she figured she'd be safe.
Yeah, because tents totally stop bullets. It's like,
yeah.
The first thing you want when you go into a firefight is a tent.
For sure. That's what the Up Armor Humvees with, I hear, these days, is tents.
Please, did you say that someone called the cops on a shooter and the cops hung up on them? Like,
yeah. After sort of at the end of the night, to the festival, and we'd been walking around and kind of like, watching everything, and then found a restaurant that was open. It was a Mexican restaurant that was serving food right in the middle of it. So it was a great place to stop and have something to eat. And then it was kind of it's getting to be about time to go home. And we're walking back up to the car, and we heard people yelling about, well, we walked right up next to where the memorial was for the person that had been shot.
Right.
And that's where the shooting last night happened, in that exact same spot, pretty much. Right when we were there, we heard like people were yelling, like a scuffle had broken out, and then somebody said, "He's got a gun," and then like some noises, and then we took off and ran over to the car and kind of hid out because it seemed like there was a fight going on. And then I heard some kid came out from pretty much right where the scuffle was. He said, "Somebody got shot." And I was like, "Yeah, that was last night." And he's like, "No, just now. Somebody got shot." And I called the cops and told them that somebody got shot. And they said, "Where are you?" And I said, I'm in CHOP." And they hung up on me. That's what he said.
Yeah. Well, so it's definitely a city-sponsored event. I don't think there's any way that anyone could argue that it's not. Would you agree with that?
Oh, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, and this matches the rest of them too, for sure. Well, man, thanks a lot, Jim, for that report. I appreciate it. I'm going to sign off now because I have to get this thing plugged in. I'm about to lose battery. This is so funny what's happening. But thank you much for the report, man. And
Yeah.
I hope you come back on the web soon. The research you and SB were doing was just always first-rate, top-notch stuff. I know many people miss you, so just wanted to push that little
Well, thank you.
that little thing out while I got you in front of a lot of people. So,
Well, thanks a lot. I know I've really appreciated watching you take off, your live streams take off and everything since I first met you, and you were a few books back.
yep,
It's
been a ride, right?
it's been a ride, yeah.
All right, great. Well, thanks a lot, Jim. We'll talk to you later.
All right.
Be safe
Thanks,
out there
James.
on chapter
Talk to you
4.
later. You too.